All right, folks, so I'm pretty excited about this one because today I'm making the first video on my channel about the Chase Ultimate Rewards platform, as well as the best ways to utilize those Chase Ultimate Rewards to book domestic flights. Now, to follow up on those two videos I made about the Amex platform as well as the Capital One platform, I'm going to say that the Chase Ultimate Rewards platform is probably the best among all three of the credit card issuers that are available right now. Simply put, the transfer partners and award rates we had to deal with Amex and Capital One are simply not going to be the case, especially for domestic travel within the United States for Chase, because of how good their Ultimate Rewards platform is. With the whole idea of maximizing value of utilizing your points or miles to book flights, we want to make sure that you're getting more than a 1 cent per point value by transferring those points to a partner airline and then booking it with the Star Alliance. Today I'm going to be talking about how Chase Ultimate Rewards platform removes the need for transferring to a lot of different partners, and especially domestically, you're not necessarily going to be getting better value by transferring your Ultimate Rewards points to those transfer partners of Chase. Now, to begin, what we want to do is benchmark our Chase Ultimate Rewards points for a cent per point value that we need to make sure we're getting a better value than if we transfer our points from Chase to a different service. So in case you're not aware already, if you have a Chase Freedom Flex, Ink Business Unlimited, and Ink Business Cash, or Chase Freedom Unlimited, all of those points are worth 1 cent per point. Now, if you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Chase Ink Business Preferred, each of those points are worth 1.25 cents. Now, if you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, which fortunately that is the card that I have right now, your Chase Ultimate Reward points are worth 1.5 cents towards travel redemptions in the portal. This means by simply having the Chase Sapphire Preferred or the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you're either getting 25% or 50% more value by utilizing your Ultimate Rewards in their own portal. Now, I do want to mention that let's say you have the Chase Freedom Flex, okay? You use that card for most of your purchases and you've racked up a number of points with the Chase Freedom Flex. Within the Chase platform, you can transfer your points among the different cards to get the most and best value. I think without a doubt, it makes sense to transfer all of your points to the Chase Sapphire Reserve card so you can utilize them on the Chase Ultimate Rewards platform for 1.5 cent per point of value. There's an option on Chase's website to combine your points within your account, and so that's the option that I would select if you want to maximize, once again, the value of your Chase Ultimate Rewards across all the cards that you have. This is especially important if you use something like the Chase Trifecta, where you have the Freedom Unlimited, the Freedom Flex, as well as the Chase Sapphire Reserve or Preferred, and want to then utilize those points to the maximum benefit possible. Now, let's say you have the Chase Sapphire Preferred, which is a 1.25 cent per point value if you use those rewards on Chase Ultimate Rewards website. If you want to maximize that and get the 1.5 cents per point of value, instead of having to apply for the Chase Sapphire Reserve, what I would personally do is try and upgrade your Chase Sapphire Preferred to the Chase Sapphire Reserve by calling Chase's customer service or looking at the offers page to see if they're offering you an upgrade to that better card, because the 1.5 cent per point of value utilizing the Chase's platform, I would say, is probably one of the best perks of having the Chase Sapphire Reserve, because once again, all of those points that you earn are simply worth more than what you would get with a Chase Sapphire Preferred or other Chase products. Now, of course, if you don't already have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, my referral link's in the description box below in case you guys do want to apply for that card. Now, to really bring home the idea that the Chase Ultimate Rewards platform is the best way to actually use your Chase points, especially for domestic flights, I want to show you guys through an actual use case of a domestic flight example. So first off, we'll start here with the transfer page for Ultimate Rewards. This is what you can see once you log in and you look at the transfer partners that Chase offers. Now, of course, this is fewer transfer partners that Amex offers, but that doesn't matter because a lot of these transfer partners are going to give you the same value, if not better, if you transfer your Chase points over to them. In addition, you'll see that Chase has 2 additional domestic transfer partners that Amex and Capital One don't have, which are Southwest and United Airlines, which can give you pretty good value depending on the date that you're traveling. Now, for the purpose of this video, I want to set a benchmark with our flight from JFK to LAX, first booking through Chase Ultimate Rewards. If we take a look at the results here, we'll see that this flight from JFK to LAX is give or take 10,000 Chase Ultimate Rewards points booked through Chase Ultimate Rewards. This flight booked in cash would be $158 for this same service. If you look at LAX area airports, you see that Ontario here is an option as well for $140 or 9,280 points. Now, when you first look at this, it's a little bit confusing because you might be thinking $140 at 1 cent per point of value should be 14,000 Chase points to book this flight. Now, we want to keep in mind that because the Chase Sapphire Reserve is the offering that I have, 9,280 points is exactly 66.66% of 14,000 points. That would be the direct conversion of this at a 1 cent per point value. So again, all of these options that you'll see here and any flight that you book on Chase Ultimate Rewards is going to be 66% or 2/3 of the actual cash price that you'd have to pay, or the cent per point value at 1 cent per point in the same currency. Now, I do want to just show you guys a direct comparison to Amex and Capital One because this is really what sets Chase Ultimate Rewards apart. And the main reason I would say that if you don't want to mess around with award redemptions and award transfer rates and all this other stuff, Chase Ultimate Rewards is going to be your best bet because it's very straightforward. So if you go and look at Amex Travel, we'll see here that these flights are in the 200s. We're not even anywhere close to what we just saw on Chase's website. So this, at a glance, we already can tell that this is not as good value as we're getting out of Chase. Once again, this was $140 for the lowest price flight here and under 10,000 points for this flight. Now, if we go to Capital One, do the same thing. We look down here at the best available option. It's $158 or 15,800 miles, give or take, which once again is significantly higher than the cheapest flight available here, which is for Delta from JFK to LAX or an LA area airport. Now, if we remember, we have these transfer partners available with Chase. You would think that with a transfer partner, you could get better value, especially for this long haul flight within the United States from coast to coast. Even with this bonus offer that Chase is currently offering with the Virgin Atlantic Flying Club of 30% bonus points, if you search for that same flight on Virgin Atlantic's website, you'll see that it's 15,000 points plus $5.60. Now, at face value, this 15,000 point flight on Virgin Atlantic with Delta, if you had transferred those points from Chase over to Virgin Atlantic Flying Club with this bump of 30% bonus points, is still not going to be better than this point purchase if you had booked it through Chase Ultimate Rewards. Obviously, that would make the price better than what you'd be booking in cash on Chase Ultimate Rewards. But once again, we're talking about points in this video in terms of the transfer partners and if that is a good option. And the 30% bump still doesn't get you better value than what you would be seeing by utilizing those points on Chase Ultimate Rewards. So once again, even with the transfer partner, Chase Ultimate Rewards is giving you the best value possible with that 1.5 cent per point value of booking that flight directly on Chase versus transferring your points to Virgin Atlantic in this case with a 30% bump to then book it on Virgin Atlantic for that Delta flight. I think once again, it should be fairly clear that Chase Ultimate Rewards and having the Sapphire Reserve or Sapphire Preferred is probably the best platform that you want to use if you don't want to mess around with award rates or transferring your points to any other partners and having to deal with waiting for those points to move over and then booking a separate airline using an airline alliance and trying to figure out all the distance bands. Within the United States, it is pretty difficult to get good transfer value because domestic flights are so short and usually cash prices are pretty cheap already. And so booking those award redemptions on those transfer partners, you have to find really good value, which is kind of hidden sometimes, which are usually gonna be found with airport destinations that are not as commonly traveled. Now, of course, as with Amex and Capital One, Chase does transfer to these other partner airlines, which give you a multitude of options to look at award redemptions if they are available. And once again, the only situation I would say that within the United States it makes sense to actually transfer your Chase Ultimate Rewards is when there is a percentage bonus for these airline programs, let's say British Airways Avios points, for booking a standard award rate within the United States with a 30% bump, which could give you better value than what you would see with the 1.5 cent per point value booking it through Chase Ultimate Rewards. So ultimately, I'm a pretty big fan of simplicity and ease of use, especially when it comes to credit cards, so I don't have to think about it as much and I can just use my points for what I need it for. And I think it's really great that Chase offers this great travel platform that you can get great value from without having to transfer your points to other places, especially for domestic flights within the United States. In the future, I do plan on covering some of Chase's good transfer partners in terms of international flights, but once again, based off of the analysis here, it does make sense to utilize Chase points on their portal, although it's a completely different story when we're talking about traveling all the way, to Singapore from the US or Japan or somewhere overseas, which are gonna be topics for another video where I can talk to you guys about those best transfer partners to utilize your Chase Ultimate Rewards. Of course, I also recently got my Chase Sapphire Reserve, which I'm really excited about, especially because of how good the travel platform is. And so I'll make sure that I make a review for you guys and give you guys some examples of the best ways to utilize your Chase Ultimate Rewards for best value, irrespective of travel destinations and whether or not you want to use them for flights. Okay, so you may or may not be able to tell, but it's actually the week after I recorded this video and I'm currently editing it. And I just wanted to point out, because I can already see the comments coming about how there are certain airport destinations where you can transfer your points to United, or you can transfer them to Southwest or a transfer partner and then book them on a separate airline and get higher than a 1.5 cent per point value. I am very well aware that those transfer partners exist and those certain use cases are good for certain airport destinations. At a certain point, there has to be a balance between the amount of time you're spending looking for these transfer partners and award flights and the amount of dollars you're saving. As I mentioned, flights in the United States are already so cheap, especially if you're, traveling within the US. Again, you're not traveling that far. I don't know why you need to travel in business or first class. The seats are pretty much the same. And so by and large, the best way to utilize your points is to utilize the Chase Travel Portal. Because once again, I don't want to paint the false illusion that if you utilize transferring your points, you can just get really good value wherever you're traveling. And if you plug in, where you live in your airport and just happens to be a destination that I didn't talk about, then you might not necessarily be able to utilize those good Semper point redemptions. Anyway, I just want to make that clear. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.